All you beasts of the field come to devour. All you beasts in the forest, his watchmen are blind. They are all ignorant. They are all dumb dogs. They cannot bark. Sleeping, lying down, loving to slumber. Yes, they are greedy dogs, which never have enough. And they are shepherds who cannot understand. They all look to their own way, everyone for his own gain, from his own territory. Come, one says, I will bring wine, and we will fill ourselves with intoxicating drink. Tomorrow will be as today, and much more abundant. Isaiah 56, 9 through 12. Guys, is that ever true from what we see in the world today? Many so-called watchmen are so blind, they're leading people straight to the Antichrist Trump because they love the world and the things in it. They love their creature comforts. They can't live without them. Remember, Joel Osteen thinks the story of Noah's Ark is like because God wants to give you a yacht. I mean, that's how ridiculous some of these so-called watchmen and preachers are today. They're bringing people to worship the golden statue of Donald Trump at his golf course. Well, I showed you that here a few weeks back. Saying prayers over it, laying hands on a statue, their own golden calf, if you will. And once again, they're doing this with Trump because they love the world and the things in it, and they think he's going to lead them to more prosperity. And like God's word says here, come, one says, I will bring wine and we will fill ourselves with intoxicating drink. Tomorrow will be as today and much more abundant. That's how they feel about Trump. Everything's going to be more abundant with him. But the opposite is actually true. They're just too blind to see it. But boy, did this jump off the pages of the Bible this morning when I was reading it. And so therefore I posted it. Because it's so true for what we're going through right now. And then we have this. I'm over here at Chuck Baldwin's website today, chuckbaldwinlive.com, Pastor Chuck Baldwin. He's got Liberty Fellowship in Montana as his church, a church that I went to for a short time when my wife and I lived in Montana. But anyway, he's got a good column this morning, something that's going to inform you about something that I wasn't aware of was about to pass. But here it is. Congress is moving a bill to criminalize criticizing Israel. So here we go. Our federal government, especially under Donald J. Trump, is doing everything it can to suppress free speech in the United States, particularly speech that's critical of Israel. Under Trump, public colleges and universities are under duress and threat of federal sanction if they allow public criticism of Israel by professors, teachers, or students. Completely goes against the Constitution, but they don't care. Especially foreign students that are here legally are threatened with expulsion from the United States if they criticize Israel, even on social media. Yeah, they're checking social media when you come into the country now to make sure you're not criticizing Trump or MAGA or anything else. Speaking of MAGA, you got to give it to them. They love their totalitarianism. They absolutely love what Trump is doing. I voted for this, is what they're saying on social media. You have very few defectors that I'm aware of. Now, however, it's the Congress of the United States that's in the process of attempting to pass a bill that would criminalize criticizing the Zionist state by the people of the United States. Oh, you're free to criticize anybody else except Israel. So in May and June, a bipartisan coalition of 15 House Republicans and 14 Democrats, see, they can all agree on war and on protecting their benefactor Israel. They can all agree on that shit. Unbelievable. But they formally sponsored the Jewish American Security Act, or JASA, a piece of legislation that, if passed, would constitute one of the most sweeping attacks on the First Amendment in American history. This bill enjoys practically universal backing from Jewish nonprofits and Zionist activist groups. The new law presents four major demands: the appointment of a specialized anti-Semitism commissar. Does that sound American to you? A commissar? About over anti-Semitism? So in other words, you can't speak the truth about Israel's genocide in Gaza, which I'm going to keep speaking about no matter what law they pass. Anyway, it's to manage the Department of Education's campaign combating pro-Palestinian activism on college campuses. a $1 billion cash injection to secure Zionist nonprofits and Jewish houses of worship, mandatory state monitoring of online social media platforms in order to force them to censor anti-Semitic political speech on their platforms. Yeah, anything Israel doesn't like, you can't say it. And officially reorientating the mission of the FBI, Department of Homeland Security, National Counterintelligence, and Security Center as instruments for targeting critics of Jews and Israel as foreign enemy actors and domestic terrorists. So there you have it. They're going to turn the entire power of the United States government against its own citizens if they criticize Israel. And you guys think that voting makes you free. That voting is, oh, it's the greatest thing ever, Johnny. We can make changes with our vote. Bullshit. Are you seeing any of this? Are you seeing anything that's going on around you? Have you watched for the last, I don't know, however long you've been alive? Have you watched the elections, how everything doesn't change and in fact it gets worse no matter what they promise you? It's unbelievable how deluded some of you are. And the only thing I can do is pray for you because there's no getting through. It just bounces right off your skull and it rolls right off of your smooth brains. How many times are you going to repeat the same stupid things over and over and over and expecting a different result? That's the definition of insanity. And you guys some of you want to call me unstable. Really? I'm not the one out voting every 4 years thinking that something's going to change. Frickin' smooth brains. Unreal. So if such a law is passed, it would treat figures as prominent as Tucker Carlson, MJ or MTJ or G, Megyn Kelly, Thomas Massey, Anna Kasparinian, and Candace Owens, as well as many other smaller critics like myself that have arisen in recent years as terrorists and enemies of the state. Well, I guess that's what I'll be then. In my Independence Day address last Sunday, I said the following: the people that we elect to Congress do not represent us and they do not care about us. Can you bring $100,000 to their desk to pay for their vote? No, you can't. But AIPAC can, and the other Israeli lobbies can and do. So they don't care about your opinion. They're serving a foreign government. We are no longer an independent country. No, we're not. And if you want to see how much AIPAC is funding your congressmen and senators, go to this website here, trackaipac.com, because it records the contributions, the bribes, that each representative and senator receives from them, and other Israeli lobby groups as well. America's Zionists, the neocons, technocrats, deep state warmongers, are in panic mode. Polling data across the board is consistent. People across all political ideologies, social spectrums, economic levels, and faith systems under the age of 50 are decidedly opposed to Israel and Zionism. In another 10 to 15 years, no one who supports Israel, if Israel even exists much longer, will be able to be elected to federal office. The Zionists see the handwriting on the wall and they're desperate. When any totalitarian system begins losing control of the narrative, which Israel has done, it resorts to the only other option it sees as viable: the brute force of the government or the bayonet point. And I'll stop there. But to go along with this legislation that's about to pass, we have this. The U.S. Congress is ready to vote in favor of Section 219 this week to merge the United States military with the Israeli military against the will of the American people. That goes right hand in hand with what I just read to you over here from Chuck Baldwin. Hand in hand. So they're about to suppress free speech in the United States. If you criticize Israel, you could actually be deported. That's what they're really shooting for. Or at the very least, put you in prison as a domestic terrorist. And you could rot there forever because as a domestic terrorist, once you're labeled that, according to the NDAA passed by President Obama back in 2012, once they label you as a domestic terrorist, all bets are off. All of your rights, so-called rights, your perceived rights, are absolutely gone. There's no speedy right to trial or anything else. You're just sitting there designated with a domestic terrorist label, and that's where you'll sit. And I guess until they decide to execute us. But anyway, That's what's coming, and it's coming soon. Very, very soon. And now, last but not least for this particular segment, we're going to switch gears here and go over to Lindsey Graham and that whole fiasco again. And how we need to stop the madness because Putin didn't kill Lindsey Graham. And I'm seeing this going all over social media, and a lot, even big accounts are covering it now on YouTube and so on. And it's ridiculous. So let's go through this just a little bit. This is from Andrew Coribico, who's a writer I feature on my website, don'tspeaknews.com, quite often. There's an update to this article that I put there this morning. But anyway, we'll start here. Social media brain rot and the competition for clicks have resulted in a race to the bottom, whereby most influencers on all sides try to appeal to the lowest common denominator of IQ. The unexpected death of Senator Lindsey Graham, who was one of Trump's closest friends and eventually became one of his most reliable allies, was attributed by his office to a brief and sudden illness. Nevertheless, because he showed no signs of illness during his last public appearance in Kiev, and he had just visited a secret drone facility there, some of Russia's friends and foes alike have conspiracy theorized that Putin took him out. Each is, of course, pursuing different narrative goals. But like it says here, one theory being pushed by Russia's friends is that Graham was killed during a Russian strike on another Ukrainian drone factory that he secretly visited. But President Trump confirmed that he spoke to Graham the night before he passed after he had already returned to the U.S. It's implausible that he, of all people, meaning Trump, who's known to be very emotional, would cover up the killing of his close friend by Putin. It's even more implausible that the anti-Russian deep state would too, and thus eschew a chance to further escalate against Russia. A relatively less convoluted theory is that Putin got Graham poisoned in Kiev with a toxin that mimicked a heart attack and was timed to take effect some hours after he returned to the U.S. to avoid suspicion. The problems with this scenario are threefold. Number one, Putin won't even take out Ukrainian figures for reasons that only he can account for. Number two, Graham was a figurehead of the anti-Russian U.S. establishment whose death won't change their policies. And three, Putin doesn't want to provoke Trump into escalating any further. While it's true that some leading Russian figures threatened Graham in the past, it's par for the course to talk smack about one's wartime adversaries, and Graham most certainly was Russia's adversary, since he sincerely believed in the anti-Russian cause of his country's establishment and deep state. To that end, he championed the most hawkish anti-Russian, pro-Ukrainian policies, even up to his death, since he was preparing to push through a radical sanctions bill targeting Russia's oil clients before his passing. And I'll just leave it there, but I will put the link up like I always do. But if we go over to don'tspeaknews.com and what I typed out yesterday in response to Graham's death, I'll scroll down here until I can find it. As far as how Lindsey Graham died, the official story said that emergency personnel were conducting CPR at a man suffering from cardiac arrest, according to public safety radio feeds reviewed by USA Today. That would make sense, as Senator Graham had the COVID-19 shots and boosters, which are known for causing heart damage from the very first shot, with each booster causing more damage. Here's a link to the story of Senator Graham getting jabbed, and here's a post he put on X when he was getting jabbed. Dr. Simon reposted it and says, suddenly and unexpected. Yeah, indeed. Guys, these shots are known to cause damage to the heart right away from the very first shot. And it gets worse with each subsequent booster, and I don't know how many he's had. But we know he's had at least this one. And I'm sure, since he said he was fully vaccinated, I'm sure he had the second one as well, at least. And sometimes it takes years for these things to show up in people, and they actually die from it. But the first 5 years is key, and it's been about 5 years for him since he got his first shot in 2021. So there you go. I don't believe Lindsey Graham was poisoned, and I don't believe he was hit by a heart attack on, and I don't believe that Russia blew him up in a drone attack, or on a drone attack on a drone factory in Ukraine. Like Andrew says here, Trump is too emotional, and he wouldn't have tolerated that well at all. But as you'll see in today's story from Andrew that I put up, Zelensky's office itself has revealed its role in pushing the conspiracy theory that Putin killed Graham. And in fact, we'll scroll down here to my comment. Editor's note: I agree with Andrew's assessment above that those who are pushing these conspiracy theories are Zelensky's and Laura Loomer's useful idiots. When people like Loomer are pushing this stuff, you know it's completely suspect. She is a propagandist, plain and simple. Stop chopping down the rabbit holes because some large YouTube channel told you to. A lot of them are paid to distract you. So there you go. I'll let you read the rest on your own. I'll put the links up as always. And that will be it for now. Stay tuned for more updates, God willing, later today. God bless, take care. Johnny Storm, Don't Speak News.